There's a couple of things that really grind my gears, and one of those things is looking at Facebook articles or other YouTube videos from personal finance experts and getting their advice about how we should be on this insanely strict budget, right, where we have to conserve every penny earned. We can't be spending any additional dollars on things like Starbucks, going out for food, or anything like that if we ever want to achieve financial independence. And there's a number of reasons why this kind of thinking bothers me, right? I don't think it's the path to actual financial independence. I don't think squeezing every single penny that comes into your bank account is truly gonna help you achieve your financial freedom and your financial goals. Plus, I think there's other places in your overall financial profile that you should be spending your efforts where you're actually gonna see a significant impact. So in this video, I'm gonna be talking about what my thoughts are about this, probably controversial topic. I'm gonna give you guys my ideas on what I think you should actually spend your efforts on, and what you shouldn't be bugging out every single second worrying about. Now, before we get into that, my name's Lior, and I'm a real estate investor out of Boston. And if you're thinking, well, why is a real estate investor creating content about personal finance? Most of my videos are about real estate, but obviously saving money, generating cash, all that is all part of the game in real estate, right? Because you do need certain cash flows coming in order to be able to afford to buy real estate and be in the real estate business. So that's why I decided to make this video, and hopefully by watching this video, this will kind of change your mindset about what you need to do in order to be able to save the cash, generate the cash, to go and get into the real estate space. So before I dive into those little expenses that I really think are worthless to think about, let me first talk about the expenses that I think you do need to worry about, right? And those are, and I've talked about this in other videos, but those are call them the big ticket expenses, right? You know, I see people that live well beyond their means, right? And by that I mean they're either living in like luxury apartments or homes. They're driving like luxury vehicles like Beamers, Mercedes Benzes, right? All that stuff. They're going on like these insane vacations that are like $5, $10, $15,000. I've seen people my age spend money on, right? Those are the big ticket items that are actually gonna set you back from financial independence, right? Because again, those are substantial amounts of cash going from your checking account right out the window. And those, 15,000 bucks spent a couple of times, let's say that's 50, all of a sudden that's 50,000. Now you're talking about potential down payment for real estate or potential a significant investment into a real estate play. But it's those little expenses that people so hyper focus on, right? You must have read those articles, you must have listened to those videos that just really honestly grind my gears, right? Because here's the point, right? Like I've seen so many of these bloggers say, well, you shouldn't be going out for coffee, you shouldn't be going out to eat, right? Like that's why I always cook every day, because I'm gonna save an extra $5 here, an extra $10 there. And you might think to yourself, well, Lior, like that sounds amazing, right? Why wouldn't I want to save this? But think about it, right? Like let's go high, right? Let's go really high numbers, and let's say you spend an extra $500 a month, right? An extra $500 a month over a course of a year is $6,000. What is $6,000 gonna do for you? Nothing, right? Like $6,000 is not gonna be able to get you into any real estate plays, right? And let's even go higher, right? Let's even go higher than 500. Let's go $1,000 a month, right? Let's say you're really balling out, you're eating tons of meals out a day, you're getting multiple cups of coffee, drinks outside, $1,000 a month, right? That's 12 grand a year, right? What is 12,000 bucks over the course of a year gonna do for you, right? Not that much. I'll even play devil's advocate, right? You're gonna say to me, well, Lior, I can take that, whatever, 6, 10, 12,000 bucks, go invest that into the S&P, generate, let's say maybe 6% returns, compound it, and maybe after 10 years, that money's worth $150,000. Again, I don't think, if you're watching these kinds of videos and you're on a journey to financial independence, I don't think you've got a $150,000 problem over a 10-year span, right? That's, $150,000 sounds like a lot of money, but over 10 years, that's not that much, right? I mean, I'm not here acting like a big ball or anything, but 150 grand, if all I'm trying to save is 150 grand over the next 10 years, I'm gonna be messing up pretty significantly. And beyond just the fact that I think we're talking about minuscule money that's really not gonna be significant in the long run, the other issue I see with this, with people just being so hyper focused and obsessed with like squeezing every out penny, is I think they're putting their energy into the wrong part of their financial profile, right? They are so focused on squeezing out those little expenses that I think they're missing out on what's really going to generate wealth for them, is focusing on their top line, their income, right? Like, I spend all of my energy not on how I can cut, Starbucks out of my diet, right? Or like eat at one less meal at Chipotle or per week or something like that. I spend all my energy trying to figure out how can I increase my top line revenues, right? My income from my commissions, right? I'm a real estate agent. My cash flows from my real estate portfolio, other income sources I have going on, and other projects I have going on, right? Because by spending my efforts on my top line revenues, and instead of decreasing my $500 budget for for food outside by 20%, I would much rather figure out my efforts on how I can increase my revenues by 20%, right? Because then by increasing my revenues 20%, it flows right through my financials, right? And it gives me way more flexibility to not only spend a little bit more money outside without being completely stressed out every single day and feeling guilty if I'm going out to eat, but it actually allows me to compound, generate more income, save up quicker, and go and make bigger plays, right? Whether your play is going to invest in the stock market or be a play like mine where I'm trying to make a play more in real estate, right? By generating more top-line revenues and by focusing your efforts on top-line revenues, you're going to be able to have a much easier path in generating cash flows to make bigger financial plays and investments. Now, look, all of that being said, right, I started with the examples of why you shouldn't have those major expenses, right? Like I said, like the apartment, the car, all that. And I'm sticking to that, right? I do think those expenses, those are month-to-month expenses, or if you're just gonna buy a car like a Benz and drop 60, 70,000, that's just one very, very big expense. But those are just huge expenses that I don't think you need to incur if you're on that financial independence path. Now, things like maybe vacations, I'm kind of always back and forth on, right? Because I don't think you should be trying to, again, squeeze every single penny for experiences, right? If you want to go on one big vacation, I think you should go spend that $5,000, $10,000, right? Because again, if you're going to be stressing out about saving every single dollar, I don't think it's going to put you in the right mindset to really achieve that financial independence, right? Like, I actually have what I call my happiness budget, right? Where I essentially just spend money. I spend some money every month and every year on a few things that I like, right? It's not like gross expenses, like a $70,000 car. But again, I have my budget where I go out with friends and have drinks outside, right? Because I love doing that. I have my budget where I go to Starbucks almost every day because I love going to Starbucks. I love my cup of coffee in the morning. That's just how I roll. And you know what? I am planning a pretty big vacation next year, right? Which will probably run me $5,000-$10,000. But again, it's like a one-time thing. It's not a consistent thing that's continuously coming out of my expenses. And with all that being said, I don't stress out. Do I monitor? Yes, but I don't stress out every time I do that, right? I used to have this like big guilt trip every time I would spend a little money. But once I got rid of that, it actually gave me more room, more freedom, and more energy to think about how I can increase my revenues, which I've done this year, right? And that's just opened an entire world for me. So those are my 2 cents on this topic, guys. Again, by no means am I advocating you don't track your expenses and you kind of just completely let loosely go. I still think you need to monitor everything and keep everything at a reasonable budget, but don't get into this just really crappy mindset where you're all about squeezing every single dollar. You're not allowing yourself to go out coffee shops or get an extra drink when you're out at a restaurant. I mean, I just think that leads you into a really bad cumulative mindset, right? Where you're just like you're in this starving mindset because it doesn't allow room for creativity. It doesn't allow you room to figure out ideas of how you can increase your income, which at the end of the day is going to be the most critical driver of your financial success anyway.